Welcome back from that short commercial break, and at this particular time we're heading into the press review as we see what's making headlines. That's in the print media and of course still in the world of business. For the interest of time, we're going to be a little bit faster because we just have about 3 minutes to get into the international news at this particular time. All right, now looking at the new vision first, we see 12,000 farmers to access loans. Of course, that's from Centenary Bank to exploit in agriculture. As farmers under the Grain Council of Uganda to access loans from Centenary Bank ahead of the next planting season. And of course, the loan facility will first benefit, that's 12,000 farmers dealing in the production of crops such as beans, Irish potatoes, and soybeans. And of course, of these, 8,000 would be selected from the northern region, while the rest will go to the farmers on other parts that's of the country with the same value chains. Something very remarkable right there. Okay, now still in the new vision, we see that beneficiaries yet to access the parish development model cash right there. And it says that although the Ministry of Finance has so far disbursed about 151, that's 0.7 billion Ugandan shillings, that's for the parish development model to cover 6,070 SACCOs. Of course, the beneficiaries are yet to access this money. All right, very good news for the people that have registered SACCOs, because that's one of the priorities, that's one of the channels which the government is passing through to enable that, to ensure that it delivers these funds to the different people. All right, for the interest of time, I'll put the new vision aside and head straight to the Daily Monitor and take a look at what's making business headlines in here. All right, now looking in here, we take a look at what's transpiring in the Daily Monitor to look at what's making the business headlines in there. It's quite a lot going on in the world, and of course I see here over 500 potholes, of course, eat away 4 critical city roads. This is something so remarkable because, you know, transportation is one of the big influencers when it comes to, of course, business, and it matters the state of the transportation. And now we see over 500 potholes eat away 4 critical city roads. And of course, several potholes have reemerged on 4 Kampala city roads just on a few months after they were patched up with compacted gravel. And of course, that's the potholes in those roads there, and of course it's disrupting the transportation within the areas. All right, we see regarding updates on Ebola, Masaka district records the first Ebola case right there. And of course, Masaka City yesterday recorded the first Ebola death after one of the 2 patients admitted, of course, to the Masaka Regional Referral Hospital succumbed to the deadly virus. A very bad news. Like, of course, it's always important to take care of yourself because we know the possible economic implications of this epidemic, just in case it worsens. So, as a Ugandan out there, be watchful as much as the government is putting up measures to prevent the spread. All right. Of course, I also hear President Yoweri Museveni wants urban poor to own markets. Wow. Of course, President Museveni advised that markets in Kampala, that's the metropolitan areas, should be owned and managed by low-income earners instead of being taken by the rich who in turn charge high fees to the vendors within those markets. So President Yoweri Museveni calls for the low-income earners to be the managers of the different markets in Kampala. That's quite very remarkable, a very interesting statement from the president right there. All right, at this particular time, we're heading into the international news, and of course, to see what's making business headlines right there. Let's get straight into it. Starting on the international news, of course, we start with Elon Musk, who's been really making headlines the past 2 weeks, of course, following the acquisition of Twitter, and quite a lot of changes anticipated during this takeover. And of course, here, Elon Musk says $8, that's monthly fee for a Twitter blue tick. Wow, very interesting. As part of changes after a $44 billion takeover of the social media site, Mr. Musk said it was essential, of course, to defeat scam. A blue tick mark next to the username, normally for high-profile figures, is currently free, definitely, but the move could make it harder to identify reliable sources. That's what the critics were saying. Mr. Musk, the world's richest person, added that that paid users would have a priority. That's in replies and searches, of course, and have as many advertisements regarding that. And of course, looking at that statement that he made right here, he says that power to the people. Blue for 8 months. $8. That's for every month for that blue tick. The billionaire said on Twitter, criticizing the old method of the blue tick verification, of course, as a loads and peasant system. And that's what he calls it, the previous blue tick, calling it as a loads and peasant system. Twitter's former method of verifying users for a blue tick included a short-time online application form, of course, that was reserved for those identities where the targets, and of course, where the targets for impersonation are such as celebrities, politicians, and journalists. The company introduced the system in 2009 after it faced a lawsuit accusing it of not doing enough to prevent that imposter accounts regarding that. Now, looking at this, the reason why Elon Musk really decided to push for this move is because he wants to reduce Twitter's dependency on advertisement. Yes, and also Twitter should start earning from subscriptions, so that in a way will be improving, of course, the incomes of the company. You remember recently Facebook came up and it was making quite enormous losses due to advertisers cutting budgets to advertise on the platform. So Elon Musk is not making that mistake again with the acquisition of Twitter. There is going to be a certain subscription required for the Twitter users. And of course, that in a way will be increasing the revenues of Twitter to avoid the risk of depending on adverts, because anything can happen. Advertisers can always change their minds. So new ways on how to raise income for this platform was quite a remarkable solution to ensure its continuity for the next decade, probably. All right, now still onto this report. Of course, the company introduced a system that was in 2009 after it faced a lawsuit accusing it of not doing enough to prevent tax imposter accounts. But Mr. Musk is facing a hefty challenge as he works to overhaul Twitter's business, which has not posted profit in years. Of course, he said that he wants to introduce Twitter's reliance on advertising, even as more companies have grown concerned, of course, have raised concern about advertising on the site under his leadership. All right, now away from that, now let's say to Russia and the Ukraine conflict. And this time around, we are looking at President Zelensky, President of the Republic of Ukraine, calling on the world to protect the Ukraine grain corridor. Zelensky said that on late Tuesday that the corridor was in need of reliable and long-term defense, even as ships continued, and of course, continued to leave Ukrainian ports. And of course, thanks to Turkey and the United Nations brokering a deal to allow safe passage of shipments of grain and fertilizer. Remember, this area, a lot of business goes on there, transportation. It links Ukraine to the other part of the world to ensure that there is business flowing. And now the conflict had delayed the operations on this particular port. All right, still continuing that. Russian President Vladimir Putin earlier told his Turkish counterpart, that's Recep Tayyip, of course, Erdogan, that he would consider rejoining the landmark agreement subject to security guarantees. That's from Kiev, after Moscow suspended its involvement over a drone attack in occupied Crimea. All right, Moscow on Saturday said it would no longer participate in the deal after accusing Kiev of carrying out terrorist attack on Russian ships in coordination with specialists from the United Kingdom. Okay, still continuing with this, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has worsened food shortages, yes, and the cost of living crisis, of course, sweeping into the entire world. Regarding that, prompting a flurry of diplomatic activity to tame the spiraling prices and avert famine in developing countries. Okay, more than 9.5 million tons, that's of grain and related products, have been exported, of course, under the deal brokered in July, which aims to restore exports, of course, to levels of 5 million tons every month. Still, as we finalize with this report, Ukrainian infrastructure minister, that's Kubrov said on Tuesday that 8 loaded ships were expected to travel through the corridor on Thursday. That is today. So quite a lot is being going on right there. And the president of Ukraine is calling on for protection regarding this corridor. Zelensky calling on the world to protect the UN grain corridor, because once it's disrupted, there is no business going on within the country, and that will limit its forex earnings. All right, we come to the end of the international news as we look at Tesla. As Tesla closes its first showroom in China, that's in retail strategy, of course, to shift resources. All right. Electric vehicle giant, that's Tesla, has closed, of course, what had been its flagship showroom, that's in China, as the company adjusts its sales and, of course, and service strategy in its second largest market. Two people with the knowledge of the matter said that Tesla shut down in Beijing's, that's Parkview Green, that's an upscale downtown shopping center, last week, according to the people who spoke on condition that they had not named because they were not authorized to discuss, of course, the closure regarding this aspect. Remember the time when Tesla, of course, signed in China? There was quite a great welcome by the Chinese government, welcoming the company to come, and quite a lot transpired in there, and this limited its operations, and people started to doubt the company. So that is really expected of what is transpiring in right there. Excuse me. Okay. Of course, a member mall staff confirmed, of course, to the Reuters, that's during the visit to the site on Wednesday, that Tesla had shut down the showroom whose windows are now, of course, plastered with posters belonging to the next tenant, and that's a streetwear brand. All right, and that's it for the international news this morning. Now let's get straight into the business tips and quotes. All right, and we are still going to review the business tips and quotes. Remember, that's very important to ensure that you get inspired regarding the business, and of course, you get to understand what really things are like. Sometimes there is how we take things versus the reality of the aspects. So when we review such quotes and tips, they guide us as entrepreneurs to be the best on our game regarding that. All right. Let's get straight to the business tips. But firstly, let's review the business quote of the day. Oh, excuse me, a little bit. Okay. Of course, the business quote of the day says, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. Of course, this was written by Samuel Beckett, the Irish avant-garde novelist and the playwright. All right. He says, keep trying over and over, regardless of the failure. Definitely, we all never want to hear the word failure in our history or in our line of pursuing our careers, but it's inevitable, I'll be honest with you. And that is a driving factor that is going to really be beneficial for your growth and development in the business world or whatever career you're pursuing somewhere else. All right, now at this particular time, let's wind this up with the business tip of the day. Always over deliver. Of course, he says that if you want to ensure that the customers buy from you again and again and they tell others about you, over delivering is critical. It means that you have to do something big that causes you, of course, to lose money, and it can be something small to you may be big for the customer. So over-delivering can be accomplished in different ways. All right, that is a very important tool right there. Of course, you need to ensure that you over-deliver to the customers, and sometimes this involves investing in money. And remember, this time around, of course, I know you invest in the business to make money, but remember the customers are your first priority. So if you over-deliver to them, they're going to feel loved and cared about, and that way they'll tell others about your business, and that will be very essential for growth. It might seem that you're spending big, it might seem small, but the customers are really appreciating and very considerate regarding that, and definitely they will reward you for your hard work. All right, we've come to the end of this segment. And of course, it's exactly 54 minutes, coming to 55. That's past the hour of 7 a.m., 5 minutes to the top of the hour, that's 8 a.m. Of course, let's get into a short commercial break. We shall be returning with the coffee cut. Good morning. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.